Okay, I'm going to talk to you guys today about how to find a deal in real estate. So the first important thing that you got to do is you got to be able to find it. The next important thing you got to be able to do is you got to be able to fund it. Next, you got to be able to fix it. And lastly, you're going to be able to flip it. Let me tell you how to do all those in detail. So first, when it comes to finding real estate deals, a lot of it has to do with where you go to actually source your deals. Many people think that you're going to go on the MLS, which is the multiple listing service, right? That's where Zillow comes from. That's Redfin. That's Trulia. But those places aren't actually where you find most good deals. It's actually where you find really terrible deals for the most part. But if you guys find out about wholesalers, find out about real estate events in your area, door knocking, there's actually a wide variety of places where you actually can go to be able to find real estate deals. Now, the number one place I tell everyone to go is you got to start at ground zero. And ground zero to me is your local real estate meetup group. Trust me, every big city has them, right? I live in the West Palm Beach area, so there's lots of places around here that you can go to get into real estate and find other people who are just like you, investors trying to get into deals, find them, lenders who are going to be able to ones that loan you the money for them, and also you're going to be able to find people who are there to wholesale the deals to you. So first, let me start with wholesalers, right? Wholesalers are individuals who will go around to properties and they will get it under contract. So let's use an example. They'll go door knocking in a local neighborhood. Knock, knock, knock. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I see you guys have a house here. Have you ever considered selling it? They say yes. Mr. and Mrs. Smith sign a contract to sell their house to this wholesaler who would typically be a buyer. And that person says, like, I'll take your house and I'll buy it for $200,000. They say yes to that agreement. Mind you, let me also say this, because this is also an important caveat, is that most of these properties need some amount of work, typically. And the reason why they want to go after properties that need renovations or need work is because that's where the value is. Most of the properties that you see on the MLS are ones that generally don't need a whole lot of work. People just buy them and they move in. But the investor, the way you're going to make most of your money is by going after these properties that need work, right? So knocks on the door, Mr. and Mrs. Smith agree to a $200,000 purchase price. After they get that after he gets that contract signed by Mr. and Mrs. Smith, he then calls up investors like me. Yo, Jay, hey man, I got a house for you for sale. I'll sell it to you for $220,000. Now, some of you might be thinking, wait, I thought you got under contract for $200,000. Yes, he did. So this is how wholesalers make money. Wholesalers make money flipping paper. You make money flipping houses. So after he gets that contract signed by them, he calls you up, says, I got this house, sell it to you for $220,000. I say to Mr. Wholesaler, let's call him John. John, I'll take that house for you for $220,000 because I know based on where that house is located and how much work it needs, I'm going to need to put about $50,000 into that house. So $220,000 purchase price, $50,000 renovation. I'm into it for $270,000. I know that after closing costs, commissions, mind you, there are a lot of additional numbers that come into it, but for keeping things simple, let's use $270,000. After I put that house on the market, I know I can sell it for $400,000. So there's essentially $130,000 worth of profit built into it. Again, there are more costs into it than just that, but I'm trying to keep things simple here so you guys can understand what actually goes into the deals so it makes sense. Now, the reason also why I would be willing to pay $20,000 for that purchase contract is because I know that I don't have any competition. If you go on the MLS, all the properties are on there. Let's say it is a good deal. I've got everyone and their mother on the MLS calling agents about, hey, we see you have a property 123 Main Street. I'm an investor, I'm looking to buy it. So everyone calls on it because the MLS has the most eyeballs. What's great about people who are just like John and other wholesalers, you're getting it directly from the source. There is no competition, and if there is, it's very minimal. So what I've done now is I've cut out how many people, how many investors who'd go after a deal simply by paying this guy $20,000. Now, you might be wondering, how does he get paid his $20,000? Well, let me break that down for you. So the way the wholesaler makes their money, they get the house under contract. After we agree, I sign. So my contract with the wholesaler would be called an assignment, right? So the wholesaler has the initial contract that he signs with Mr. and Mrs. Smith. He is what they call A to B. He is the B. our contract, the assignment of contract, would be the B2C. That B2C deal is signed with a simple sheet of paper in most cases. We live here in South Florida. I can't speak on other states, but I can tell you as far as Florida is concerned, it's just a simple assignment of a piece of paper. Once that assignment once that assignment contract is signed by both me and the wholesaler, that is then turned into the title company or the title agent, depending on who it is, right? Sometimes they have attorneys, and they will be doing all the paperwork for approving and saying that yes, this house is legally owned by Mr. and Mrs. Smith. The deed can transfer title very cleanly. There aren't any encumbrances. Encumbrances would be clouds on title. Let's say the house is built too close to the property line and it's considered non-conforming. There are a number of issues that could come up during the title search, but let's assume in a good case scenario, there aren't any issues with title. Title then takes the title work, which begins with searching them on the property, making sure that the mortgage in place is owned by the people who say they are, the deed is in place by the people who they say that they are. And then once they turn in all that paperwork, the title searches on the property, when we get to closing, because I signed assignment of contract with the wholesaler, and the wholesaler signed a purchase contract with the homeowner themselves, both of those papers go to closing, and at the closing table, when I send my wire over to the purchase of the house, $200,000 of that goes to the homeowner, $20,000 of that goes to the wholesaler, and I get the keys to the house. Now, the next thing you're gonna wanna do is be able to fund that deal. So remember in the beginning where I said you wanna be able to not just find it, but you have to fund it. This is the second step. So when you're getting ready to go to your closing, so we're actually gonna go back now. That was basically finding the deals, what I initially explained. This funding portion is who's actually gonna be providing the money for you to buy that house. Now, some people think that when you get into doing real estate deals, that you're just balling out of control and you got money thrown in the air. That's not the case. Most of the time, people have lenders. These lenders are typically known as hard money lenders. Hard money lenders are different from your traditional lenders, Bank of America, Chase, that offer you loans and mortgages because they're not offering it to a homeowner. Instead, they're offering it to an investor. These are typically private individuals, sometimes small, sometimes large, who specifically lend money on real estate deals. Now, the real estate deal that you're doing, because the lender looks at it and they're assuming your numbers are as good as you say that they are, based on those values of those houses, they're going to come up with what they're going to determine is going to be a loan that they can give you. So they're going to take that value, those average numbers. So we had $420,000 for one house. We also had $440,000 for one house, and then $410,000 for the other house. That gives you $1.27 million. Let's divide that by 3. That gives us $423,000. Let's just round it up and say $425,000, right? So the bank is going to come back and say, like, or the lender, they're going to say, hey, Jay, okay, based on the comps that we see in your area, your fixed up value, your after repair value, we see being worth $425,000. We're going to give you a loan based on that $425,000. Now, typically with a lot of these lenders, they'll offer you a loan that's 85% loan to value, 75% loan to value. And what that means is they're going to take that after repaired value, $425,000, multiply that by 85% or 0.85, and that gives us $361,000, right? Again, easy math, let's call it 360. So for $360,000, they're gonna say that's gonna be the loan that we're gonna apply to the purchase price of your house, right? Everyone knows that when it comes to the lender side, all lenders know that you're gonna have closing costs, you're gonna have commissions, right? Commissions are gonna be what's paid out to the real estate agents who buy and sell your property. That's the commission side of it. And when it comes to the closing costs are what's going to be used to determine how much you got to pay in taxes for the property, how much you're going to pay in document stamps, what you're going to pay to the title company for preparing all the documents. All those have a number to them. I personally use 0.7%, right? Or excuse me, 7%, which comes out to 0.07. The reason why I use that is here in South Florida, what's really common is 2.5% to the buyer's agent, 2.5% to the seller's agent, and then I think of a number as 2% for closing costs. That is by no means an actual figure. These are just rules of thumb that I use for myself to determine really quickly what I think things are going to cost. So using that number, $425,000, multiply that times 0.07, we get $29,750. But again, simple. $30,000. How about that? So $30,000 is what it's going to cost you for closing costs and commissions. Now subtract that from our profit margin, right? Which is our after repaired value. So 425,000, excuse me, from our sales price. So 425,000, right? Because that's what our after repaired value is. Subtract $30,000 from that. That puts us at $395,000. Okay, but we're not done yet. We had to buy the property, right? We bought the property for $220,000. And we need to subtract that from $395,000. That puts us at $175,000. And we're still not done because we still have more numbers to take out of it. For instance, we still have the loan that we're going to be paying towards a lender, which is exactly what I want to bring up here. Now, that lender is going to say to you, like, okay, Jay, based on the numbers, we see that there's an average profit margin, 125, 150, whatever number they end up coming up with, but enough for them to see, like, yes, there's money in this deal, and it'd be worth us putting our money out to be your lender. Because remember, the lender's always looking to think, like, how can I get my money back? So if they think you're going to default on your loan, at minimum, they're going to take over that property, which is why a lot of lenders are willing to put so much money out there, because they know that at worst case, they get a house. So it behooves you to make sure that you are always on top of your projects and you know your numbers really well so that you don't get in over your head as you're doing your deals. So with that being said, the lender is now going to come up with a number. That number is usually around 15%, 20% down that they want you to cover, and they'll cover the 80-85% of the rest of the deal. So if you guys remember, the house was gotten by the wholesaler for $200,000. They got under contract for $220,000, and they got the contract from me for that number. So $220,000, because that's our purchase price. We multiply that by 0.15 because we're getting 15% down. And we're looking at $33,000 as your down payment. And when it comes to what the lender is willing to lend to us at 85%, it's $220,000 times 0.85. So the lender, based on $220,000, is willing to lend us $187,000. Now we're going to subtract that from the contract price, which is $220,000. So 187 minus 220,000 is equal to $33,000. That $33,000, that's the down payment that we must now bring to the closing table so that we can purchase that property. Of that money, that $20,000, not of the $33,000, but of the total loan amount, $20,000 will get paid out to the wholesaler. He gets his money, he dusts his hands, he's off. And what's great about wholesaling, the wholesaling side of it specifically, they put very little work in outside of them getting the house under contract. Once they get the house under contract, they're kind of scot-free, because now they don't have to deal with any of the headaches of renovating the property. They don't have to do any headaches with the city and code and getting permits. They don't do any of that. They literally get the house under contract, and then they're off to the races, and they celebrate with their $20,000. But remember, you're the investor, and you're the one who's going to fix up that property. You're going to make more money on the back end than that wholesaler did at the closing table. So with that $33,000 down payment that you've put into the property, you now have to consider how much it's going to take to renovate it. And let's say the property took $50,000. So we have $33,000 plus the $50,000 that's going to cost us to renovate it. We're looking at $83,000. Now that you've found your deal, right? Now that you've funded your deal to get to it, now it's time to fix it. So what you're going to be doing now is you're going to be taking that $50,000 that we mentioned in renovation, and you're going to be applying it to your project. How are you going to spend that $50,000? Is going to come down to your scope of work. Now, hopefully, you're somebody that looked at the house in decent detail, or you took a contractor with you to walk through the house to see where that $50,000 is going to be allocated. So let's say your kitchen costs you $10,000. Let's say your bathrooms are going to cost you another $10,000. You've got two of them to renovate. That's $20,000 right there. You still got to get paint. You still have to do your floors. You still have to do some other work around the house. Maybe you have to do some repairs to your roof. Maybe you've got to do some repairs to your electrical. All those in total are going to come out to that $50,000 mark. Now, if you have a really good contractor, he's going to not only give you a good scope of work, but he's going to give you a detailed estimate or a detailed bid within that scope of work that breaks down where all that money is being allocated. Now, the reason why that's incredibly important is because a lot of these contractors out here are truly contractors. And a lot of these guys are out here to just get your money. And if you're not paying attention, they could very easily dupe you into handing over your money to them, and then they're out. So what I always tell everyone to do if you are capable and your project is small enough, especially in the beginning, it's for you to pick up the materials. So say to your contractor, hey, please give me a detailed list of all the things that I need to get. Of that $50,000, you need to pay for the pipe, and you need to pay for the water heater and all the cabinets, everything. What you're going to do is say to them, tell me all the things that you need for each one of your trades, electrical, plumbing, etc., cabinets. You yourself are going to go and buy those materials. You're going to have them give you a detail list, and you're going to go pay for those materials and have them delivered to the property. Here's the reason why this is incredibly important. What I hear all the time from people is how they said, oh, this contractor stole my money. Oh, he ran off with $30,000. Well, this actually helps quell that, because now a lot of the contractors are going to say, well, I need 50% upfront. And you're going to say, Mr. Contractor, why do you need $50,000 up front? They're going to say, well, we need to buy the materials. No problem. I've got you covered. We're paying for all the materials as long as you give us that detailed list. And what that's also going to help you do is now only pay for labor. Like most people, we pay labor after labor is complete, not before it's complete. Otherwise, why are we paying for it, right? It'd be like if you went to eat at a restaurant. You don't pay before you eat, right? You get your service, you're serviced, and then after you complete your service, now they'll hand you the bill and you pay the bill. So this is what the benefit of is that you now not have to worry about somebody handing over $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 to someone for them to be able to run off with it. Instead, as the work is completed, a quarter of the project, half the project, the full amount, you pay them in increments. So you are always in control of your money. Another benefit to that as well is, let's say that contractor stops showing up. This happens all the time. You can now go, all right, Mr. Contractor, yeah, bye. You go get yourself a new contractor, and all that material, you paid for it, so you own it, and it stays inside your place. So that contractor, he's gone, new contractor comes back over, and the renovations continue. So let's say you've made it through your entire project successfully, you've gotten to the very end, you spent all $50,000, you stayed on budget. Yeah, right. But let's say you stayed on budget. You've now found the property, you've now funded it, you've now fixed it, and now what you're gonna do is flip it when it comes down to the sale side of things. Now, when it comes to the selling of the property itself, I can't recommend enough that you guys stage your houses. I tell everyone, there is one thing about flipping houses that's incredibly important, and it's the emotional connection that somebody makes when they walk into a house for the first time. That's why all this stuff, you see this setting behind me? The only reason why I do this is because I know that when somebody walks in, they're gonna feel something about my houses. Think of like the red Corvette that someone drives and they're 70 years old. What are you driving the Corvette for? It's a feeling, right? It's when they first saw it at 15 and they fell in love with it. There's an emotional tie there. People do the same thing with houses. And generally, whether you like it or not, when it comes to couples, the girl, the woman, the wife typically is the one that is gonna pick which house that they're gonna move into. It's just the way it is. Is it politically correct? Is it the wrong thing to say? I don't know, but I can tell you, after selling lots of houses and seeing numerous deals across numerous inspectors and numerous investors, that a lot of times the woman is the one that picks the house for the family to move into. They're the ones that make it a home. So a lot of the things that you do, that you put into your house, into your staging, you have to cater a lot of that to the woman herself. You got to make the kitchen really functional. You got to make the bathrooms feel really bright and pretty. Even when it comes down to the bedding themselves, when you're staging it, you want all of these spaces to feel like something that somebody can walk into and say, like, you know what? I'm home. There's nothing more powerful than that statement right there. A lot of investors get into houses, they do these flips, and after they're done with them, the floors are done, the walls are painted, the kitchens are complete, and they're nice. They're nice, I can't lie, they're nice, but that's just it. It's no different than house B, C, D, E, F. But if you take the time and you stage your houses and you put an emotional connection into that property, I promise you, the person that walks in, the right person, the only person for that property is gonna walk in and make a feeling with that house that they can't get away from. That's no different for the person that bought that red Corvette. That's what you wanna do with every single one of your properties. And you don't have to break the bank to do it. I tell everyone, if you're not going to hire a staging company, at the very least, take the time, go on Facebook Marketplace, go on OfferUp, and look for furniture. The best thing you can do, go on Pinterest, scroll through some photos, and get some inspiration for what your spaces could look like or should look like. When you find spaces that are really well done, I need you to start analyzing it. Don't look at it and double tap and like and save just because you think it looks good. You need to ask yourself, why does it look good? What about this room has an emotional connection to it, and how can I recreate that? And if you can have a collection, a decent collection, living room, kitchen, bathroom, bedroom, you'll be able to start getting an idea as to kind of the furniture you should put inside your places, so that when everything is said and done, you've managed all of your spaces, you've put furniture inside each one, your beds feel nice and cozy, there's pillows, there's rugs down, it feels like a home somebody lives in. Now that person makes that emotional connection, and the best part about it, they're gonna write you an offer. And when they write you that offer, that's gonna be your sign that you've actually done something right, because now there are people out there who say, hey, I want your property and I'm willing to pay you for it, and here's what I'm willing to pay. Okay guys, I hope you got a ton of value out of this video. Please comment down below so I know exactly the kind of videos you gotta see, so you can continue to get more great value out of this channel. And if you guys haven't already, please like and subscribe, because this is your channel for all things design and real estate. So until next time, catch you on the next one.